This is the day that the Lord has made. We shall rejoice and be glad in it. Hello out there. I am Karen Benson, and I'm here to just give you a few minutes of my time and telling you about what I've been through lately. My husband is incarcerated at the Clements Unit in Amarillo, Texas. And this year has been a real trying time for everybody. The ones incarcerated and the ones on the outside with this COVID-19. And everything came to a screeching halt. And I think the thing that affected us, the ones incarcerated and the families, is that they stopped our visitation immediately when it started getting all the cases. And that started happening in March. And in April, the end of April, I got a phone call one day that just shook the Rock of Gibraltar right out from under me. It was the warden at the prison in Clements. And he said, "Mrs. Benson," and I just froze. I didn't know. He says, "First of all, let me tell you, your husband's just fine. But he's been injured. He slipped and fell in the shower, and he broke his leg." We got medical to him immediately, and they took him to the hospital in Amarillo. And he had emergency surgery. But he's doing okay, and I just needed to let you know that. And also, they tested for him for COVID-19, and I have not heard back from him. And I went, "Okay," and he said, "But I will keep you informed." And so he hung up, and I was in shock. I didn't know what to do. I felt so bad. My heart hurt for him. I wanted to be with him. I wanted to help take care of him. I wanted to know everything that happened and what he was doing and how they were handling it. And I just started praying immediately for God to take care of him, for the medical people, for wisdom, knowledge, and discernment, for them to take care of him and to meet all of his needs. And I just really was just turning it over to him. There was absolutely nothing that I could physically do, but I sure could pray for him. And that's something we all have to remember. When things happen, turn it over to God. We cannot change anything. We can't do anything about it, but God certainly could. Anyway, 2 days later, it was 2 days before I found this out. It happened 2 days after when he called me, before he called me. And when he called the second time, he says, "I wanted to tell you, he's being discharged today. He's being brought back to the infirmary at the prison, and also that I still haven't gotten results of the COVID-19 for him." And I said, "Well, can I call the infirmary?" And he says, "Yes, you may. Just call the prison number and tell them you want to speak to infirmary, and that's all you got to do." And I said, "Okay, fine, thank you very much." And I got off that phone. I went right to the phone to call the Clements, and I asked for the infirmary, and I got them and got the medical, and he asked me what I told him, what I needed, and I told him who I was and my husband's name. He says, "Just a minute, I've got to go to the computer. I got to make sure he has signed a deal that gives me permission to give you any information on him." And I just thought, oh my gosh, I hope he has. He come back, "You're safe, he's good." He says, I'll put you through to the infirmary." And I want to tell everybody, all of you, that be sure you have signed this information, that a loved one, who it is, a family member, that they can call and check on you if you've gotten sick or you've been injured, that they can call the infirmary and they can give you the information. And that was a big deal to me, that I don't know what I would have done at that point if I couldn't have found anything out about him. And so do that. It's really important. Find out, if you haven't, find out how to do it. It's really important. And so I called the infirmary, and this nurse answered. And remember that I had prayed about God and helping to find out this stuff. And I had just really, anyway, and I told her who I was calling about and who I was, I was his wife. And she says, "Oh, I was on that. I'm the nurse that went and answered the call that night." And she says, "I know everything." And she says, "Let me just start telling you everything. First of all, he did, his test, this COVID-19 did come back positive, but he's never had any symptoms of it at all. That's okay." Said, what happened to him when he fell with his leg up under him, and he had an open fracture of his leg, his lower leg next to the ankle in 2 places. And she says, it went through the skin on his leg, the bone did, where it was fractured, and there was blood everywhere. She said it freaked the inmates out and the guards, and they had to help get him up on a gurney to get him out of there. We took him right into Amarillo, and they came to the emergency thing, and he had emergency surgery that very night to do an open reduction internal fixation. "Do you know what that is?" I said, "Yes, I do. I had medical." And what they did is they went in, cleaned it all out, and put plates and screws to hold it together. And she said that he did very well, and that he's doing very well here. We got him back out here. He's in a room, and she said that we found out that he's very strong, and he decided on his own that he would get out of bed and go to the restroom on his own, that he would hop. So, but the first couple of days, of course, he was totally bedfast, but he's doing fine. And she says, I says, "Well, may I keep calling every couple of days?" And she said, "You sure can. That's fine." And so I did that every other day. And then he didn't have his property. That was a problem that came up. And he was waiting for his property to come from his cell. Anyway, it finally got there, and I don't know if it went from the cell to the property room and then to him or how, but anyway, they lost his ID, and he was not able to get commissary. And they have the guards that do get your commissary list, and they will go pick up your commissary needs and bring it back to you. Well, he couldn't get anything for all the time. I mean, they absolutely could not find it. He put an I-60, which you're all familiar with, an I-60 to turn in to get a new ID. And he wasn't getting it, and he wasn't getting it, and he couldn't write a letter or anything. And I hadn't heard from him. Till the first letter that I got, I didn't know all of these things. But he still didn't get, somebody had finally lent him a pen and lent him some paper and an envelope and a stamp, and I got a letter from him, and that was like pure gold in the mail. I was so glad, but found out that they lost his ID, so I started calling the warden's office, telling them that he'd put an I-60 in and he hadn't heard anything, and it was taking so long to get it. And so anyway, and I kept calling, saying he still hasn't got it, and they had a really nice lady working in the warden's, and she says, "I'm going to call him right now." And she says, "I'll let you know what I find out." And it wasn't very long at all. And she actually did call me back, and she said, "Mrs. Benson, good news. They've got it, and they're bringing it. He's going to get it today." And I told him to get it right over there to him. And I just appreciated her so much. And I just prayed. I said, thank you. You are a blessing. And that's one thing. When you do contact and have a family member who calls on your behalf, please tell them they need to be kind. They don't need to chew them out or get ugly. They're doing their job. She was an absolute blessing to me, and I wanted her to know that and to thank her. And tell your family members when they do call you have to be an advocate. Family members have to be an advocate, but you need to tell your family members what they can do, and they can call the warden's office. They can ask, and 5 more minutes. So, Father God, I just thank you and praise you for it, Lord, what you've done for him. He was discharged. He was in the infirmary from April 22nd until August 6th. And he's doing well. He's back in the unit. And also when he got back to the faith-based unit, the guys came up and just said, "Oh, we're so glad to see you. Welcome back. How are you doing?" And he said, that just blessed him greatly. And I said, and that's another thing. Just practice the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians 5:22 and 23. Love, patience, faithfulness, kindness, goodness, self-control. Remember for their family members and for you as inmates. When they come back, be kind. Be concerned for them. Tell them you're glad to see them. Because sometimes they're coming back into a unit they've not been in. So reach out to them. Love on them. They need it. They need to know that they're back with people they can be, to love on them. And love is a great thing to display. But anyway, it all worked out. But as a family member, when your loved ones hear that you've been injured, they want to know more about it. And it was just really hard. I'd never been through anything like that. And I wanted to be there for him. It just broke my heart. My husband and I have been married for over 59 years. We'll be celebrating our, Lord willing, 60 years next year. And just to not be there to help and to be part of that, to take care of him. So tell your family members what they can do. It's just amazing if you treat the prison right and they call and they ask for help, and help them, Lord, to know what they can do. But get the things signed that you need to do for them to be able to help you. And just be a blessing to each other and take care of each other in this time of this lockdowns and everything has changed. But God is in control and you just have to let him do it. So I'd like to pray for all of you. And I pray a little different with this, what everybody seems to know. But our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver